How's it going, everybody? It's so
Hey,
good to
everybody.
see you there. See you here. So we're having a little bit of technical issues with Facebook right now because they are a joy. So what we're doing is we are going around it. And so we are recording right now live on the Zoom platform. So with all of that, thank you for bearing with us. Sorry the video is showing up a little bit too late, but
Yep.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to Real Raw Health with your host, Nikki Burnett of Taste Life Nutrition and myself, at Rowe of ParsleyPet. During our show, we are talking about your pet's health, raw feeding, and the health our pets bring to us with love. And also, we dip a little bit into human health and nutrition as well. So welcome, Nikki, to this week's show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm always excited to learn what new topics we're going to discuss. So I'm excited about this week because I kind of geek out about this stuff a lot. And so I'm afraid I might talk too much, but
No, you never talk too much. You're doing great.
Yeah, it'll be fun because what we wanted to do, there's so much. We talked a lot about the immune system and we talked about inflammation, but I kind of wanted to go into a deep dive. And might be a little sciencey, but it's really not. I think it's enough of a deep dive to understand some of the parts and pieces of inflammation and how we can reduce inflammation, which is also boosting the immune system. And This is both for human and dog nutrition. So this really is. I don't think that there's any difference between the two that we're going to talk about. So it's great for everybody.
Awesome. And really what we're going to talk about is omega-3s and omega-6s.
Right.
And their effects of all of it. From what I understand is at times we receive 10 times the amount of omega-6s that our body actually needs.
Yeah.
And it causes itself as an inflammatory inside the body.
Right. So I'll just start with kind of that deep dive. And so, it's really, I just think it's super cool stuff. And so what we always hear about is we hear about omega-3 fatty acids. What are they? Well, first we hear about them from fish oil, right? So just to put the two together in your mind, if you're not sure what we're talking about. So we hear about fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids, it's anti-inflammatory and it's good for us. True, right?
Right.
So omega-3 is the precursor to what's called the anti-inflammatory prostaglandins, or eicosanoids. It's just a sort of a hormone-like substance in the body that starts the anti-inflammatory cascade, essentially.
Okay.
That's what omega-3 is. And so omega-6 is just the opposite. So it is the pro-inflammatory eicosanoids. Not a bad thing. So we have omega-3 and omega-6. So if you cut yourself, then you have to have this inflammatory cascade come in order to start that healing process. It's very important. So that's a part of biochemistry. But then you have to have the anti-inflammatory come in order to squash that fire.
So they work together almost hand in hand in the symbiotic relationship as one comes in to protect your body, like you said, with a cut, with a pro-inflammatory in order to take action immediately on healing that. Well, you have to have the omega-3s come in on the other side to balance it.
We have to have them both. Yeah, they're both very important, but it's a balance, right? Just like everything in life, there's a balance there. And so we can get too much omega-3. If we don't need a bunch of omega-3 and we're just popping, fish oil all over the place, that can be a problem too. So we really, and these are things that we can test for. I haven't seen it in dogs, I don't think, but I can see it in humans. But it's important to understand that, a whole bunch, just because a little bit's okay doesn't mean a whole bunch of it's okay.
Right.
But to your point, what we're seeing in our world is we are inundated with omega-6s. So it's creating this constant inflammatory process without enough of the omega-3 to come in and squash that fire. And so where are we getting all these omega-6s? So we're getting them from, and this is mostly humans right here, but I'll move over into dogs in just a second. We're getting them from, processed foods, chips, these fake butters that are, healthy because it's canola oil and, corn oil and vegetable oil and all of these things are just really terribly unhealthy.
Right.
There's some that are a little more healthy also. Think about grapeseed oil, not a bad thing, but higher in omega-6. I don't tend to use it much with clients because I have a lot of inflamed clients. And so, but it's not necessarily bad. But it's, again, we want to be aware of our body and what it is that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the piece that I really want to dive into, though, are animals. No, before I do that, I want to make sure that there's an understanding too, because what we believe or what we see is that plant-based foods are also high in omega-3s. So chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, all of these things, they are high in the precursor to omega-3.
Okay.
So we have our vegans and vegetarians who believe that they're getting good amounts of omega-3 fatty acids. But in actuality, what's happening is the conversion from what's called ALA, the conversion from ALA to the usable form, which is the EPA DHA that we hear of that's in fish oil, the conversion is not efficient. And for some people, genetically, it doesn't happen at all. So they just might have the right genetics where it doesn't convert at all. So depending on plant-based forms of omega-3 fatty acids, the EPA DHA that we have to have is not a smart way of getting them in almost every case. Except now we have, there's an algae that is high in omega-3 if you are a vegetarian or vegan and you want to use that. But in order to get really good therapeutic doses of it, you got to take a lot. So,
but you say a lot. How much is a lot?
That's a good question. I haven't done the conversion, but when I'm putting somebody on therapeutic doses of omega-3 or fish oil, it's going to be, 4 grams, 5 grams, 6 grams a day. And there would be a lot of pills. Like, I don't actually know, 10 pills. I don't know. I'm guessing, but it's a lot. I looked at it. I was like, unless I'm not looking at it properly, it really almost doesn't make sense. For therapeutic purposes, right? If you just need a little bit, then that's one thing. But most of the time, I'm using them for therapeutic purposes.
It's a lot, though. I mean,
yeah. So understanding that piece of it, I think, is really important because I see it everywhere. Get your chia seeds; it's high in omega-3s, and it's just not. There's a plant. This is fun. So all of you who have this weed called purslane that grows in your yard. It's an amazing weed. You can pick it and eat it. And they're almost like succulents. Don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but if you've seen them, they're super tasty. I mean, they taste like greens.
Okay.
But that they're also high in omega-3s, but it's the ALA and not the EPA and DHA.
EPA that you want, yeah.
So eat what's in your yard if you can.
Make sure you don't fertilize.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so now what I want to talk about, see, I'm super geeky about this stuff. It's really fun. So we talk about animals.
With you, Nikki, is you are the geek on that side that, kind of goes after it all. So I love it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to mostly use cows because it's kind of mostly what we consume. Cows, chickens, but you can put chickens in there too.
Sure.
But my example is going to be cows because cows, they are meant for grass. They eat grass. They only eat grass. They're not supposed to eat grain. They're not supposed to eat corn. They're not supposed to eat chicken poop. They're not supposed to eat any of the things that we have been feeding them or tend to feed them in the conventional world. What'd you say? In
feedlots. Yeah. You hit it on the head. It's kind of disgusting what we feed our cows.
Oh my gosh. When I heard, and I don't know if they're still doing this, but when I heard that they feed them chicken poop,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I don't really know what to even do with that. Who even thinks of doing that?
What they feed dogs, I'm still amazed at what they think. And when they're feeding dogs and there's noticing traces of barbitol show up in the rendering facility, that means they're grinding up euthanized cats and dogs and refeeding it back to our dogs. Okay. I'm not going down that rabbit trail.
Man, it's just so frustrating.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole point to this is, our conventionally fed cows are eating things they're not supposed to eat, and they're doing it to fatten them up, right? So what ends up happening, they take a healthy cow off grass, they put him into the feedlot, and they're feeding him all of these things and injecting him with all of these things. And they end up creating an animal that had a healthy amount or healthy balance on grass of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. And a big truck going by with dogs hanging out of it. It was amazing.
Crack me up.
I know. So anyway, so we take this healthy balance of omega-3, omega-6, and you know conjugated linoleic acid.
Yep.
Anybody in the fitness world usually knows conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA, because it's used for body mass, healthy muscle mass. And so cows in their meat naturally have a lot of CLA. So they take them into the feedlot, they put them on all this stuff. They're feeding them things that are inflammatory. So their omega-6 content's going up, their omega-3 content's going down. And the CLA, after 2 weeks in a feedlot, the CLA is almost completely gone. So all of these things that we and dogs are supposed to eat, well, and I would say cats too, because they're true carnivores.
Right.
All of these beneficial components to the meat, you've created an obese animal, an inflamed animal, a sick animal. And what happens is it translates to us. That's what we're eating: obesity and sickness and inflammation.
Right. And, when you look at it, we should be receiving a 4-to-1 ratio, 4 omega-6s to every 1 omega-3. And now they're seeing in some of our food and in our bodies, they're seeing 50-to-1 ratios happen.
Yeah. It's crazy. And we wonder why we're developing these diseases. And I can't help but to put this out there with COVID-19, what we're seeing, it's another disease, lifestyle disease. So for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part, people who are really suffering from this are people who are diabetic, have heart disease, have multiple comorbidities, they're obese, and then the elderly, and they believe it's because the melatonin levels drop as we age. And so melatonin's, a protective mechanism or protective hormone, neurotransmitter, sorry. And so if we don't have enough, then that's, a lot of reasons why they believe that it's affecting our elderly. So these are populations that need to be protected. And so I didn't, I wanted to throw that out there, because if we don't have the right omega-3, omega-6 ratios, and we are inflamed, then it's more likely for us to have a weakened immune system and not to be able to deal with the insults of life. But the same, that goes with dogs, right? So dogs, if they're inflamed, they're eating these foods. And so even conventional meat, and this goes for us, it goes for the dogs. If they're eating conventional meat, it's the same thing. They're still getting what they're supposed to have. Let me say that this isn't to make anybody feel bad, because I understand that grass-fed meat at this point anyway is more expensive, and we got to do what we do. Feeding raw food, even if it's not pasture raised, is the best thing.
Yep.
But what we can do is add the fish oil on top of that to help try to balance out that omega-3, omega-6 ratio. So you add fish oil on top of the raw meat that they're getting. This can help them get that nice omega-3, omega-6 balance.
Yeah. And you hit it on the head. I mean, there's so much of a processed diet, not only for us as humans, but for our pets that eat kibble on that side. So they're automatically getting a high amount of omega-6s in the diet. And then at some point, the way that we actually store the fat inside that food is going rancid.
Yeah. It's so bad. And if it's rancid, what is it? Carcinogenic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we wonder why 50% of our dogs are dying of cancer. And if you talk to Dr. Judy, she's like, sorry, Matt, it's 2/3 of dogs are coming down with cancer, and they're seeing it faster and faster. But even under a human ratio I read something that said that they are anticipating that 50% of humans will get diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime.
Yeah. Well, I think it's at least that many. And so there's a number out there, and I haven't been able to find it. I know that I've seen it, but I can't find it. I keep talking about it and I can't find it. But we as humans develop cancer 3, 4, 5, 6 times over our lifetime, but we have the immune system to be able to defeat it unless we don't. And so that's key.
Yeah, and as Dr. Judy put it, she goes, cancer is just a protective mechanism. We damage the cell so much that the actual cancer goes in to protect the cell.
That is an amazing viewpoint. I've not heard that, but it makes perfect sense. It's it's a mutation in order. It's like Alzheimer's. Yeah. Alzheimer's is a protective mechanism of the brain.
Right. I mean, you look at, autoimmune condition like multiple sclerosis is really just a protective mechanism where your immune system is becoming basically hyperactive is the word I want to use, but that would be the incorrect statement. But it's just becoming more pronounced in that space to try to protect against something that is in the body.
Yeah. The immune system has gone wacky, but there's always a reason why. And that's the stuff that we have to figure out and understand.
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You go ahead.
You didn't. I was actually going to go off topic, so you brought me back on. Doesn't matter.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to go off topic as well about stress and how stress affects our immune system so much. And so do you think that a good level of omega-3s and omega-6s within the body actually helps protect against some of these external stresses that come at us?
Yeah, I do. Because it's helping to build the immune system. So inflammation, if we're inflamed, the immune system is constantly trying to fight the inflammation, whatever it's coming from, whether it's infection or, just, too much bad food, whatever it is.
Right.
And so what we can think about, and one of these days I'm going to have this cycle, this diagram that I talk about way too much for not actually having it, but there are the circles where you see inflammation, and you see stress, and you see disease, and then the arrows all going back and forth. And so it's a chicken or the egg, but once one happens, you have stress, then you have inflammation, and then you have disease, and then it creates more stress, and then it creates more inflammation. And you can just go on, because you can throw in hormone imbalance, you can throw in gut issues, whatever it is. Everything's connected, and everything works, good or bad, off of the other. And so when we start this inflammatory process, then other things are going to react. And it's just a vicious, nasty cycle that it just spirals out of control. And that's why, we see disease. I mean, that's what disease is it's the body out of control.
So it's interesting when you follow a logic thread on that, is if omega-6s are pro-inflammatory to protect our body against cuts and other things, to stimulate that immune system to take action when it needs it. So what happens if we're receiving 50 times the amount of an omega-6 that our body is it hyper vigilant on just creating that pro-inflammatory response?
Yeah. I mean, I always see it as a fire. And so it's just this constant fire that's burning inside systemically, it's all over. And so, I mean, it is I don't know if it's hyperimmune, but the immune system's gonna react to it. So inflammation is more of a cellular process. It's kind of, I mean, there's a scientific definition for it, but it's a cellular process. But everything, especially when you have systemic inflammation, the body, everything's going to react to it. And so I would say too, if we look at genetics or epigenetics and what we're prone to or maybe predisposed to. If we keep inflammation down, anything that we're predisposed to shouldn't come up. So whether it's cardiovascular disease or diabetes or autoimmune conditions, they should, you may have the potential, but it's still a lifestyle disease. And this is all with dogs too. So I want to make sure that everybody's very clear that there's no difference here. If we have the potential towards something in particular, just because it runs in the family, doesn't mean we have to have it or get it or deal with it if we're living a healthful life. Now, nobody's perfect. Nobody expects you to be perfect. Everybody loves wine. Everybody loves bread and cheese, right? But you got to understand who you are for you. Like Matt, you would never do gluten and dairy because you don't want to have MS symptoms pop up, right? So these are the things that we have to be aware of. We are aware of ourselves. If we can be aware of our genetics, it's important. But, you're such a perfect and beautiful example of not understanding the body and probably thinking you're pretty healthy early on. And then something comes up, you're like, how the hell does this happen? And then you learn your body, you learn what you need, you learn and educate, and now you're doing the educating. But it shows how much control we actually have, even when something like that comes up. How much control we have to bring our bodies back to balance, even if you have the potential of bringing on symptoms, and you have the potential due to what you do in your life to keep symptoms at bay.
Yeah, and almost to some degree, I think healing it as well. I mean, some of the work that I've been reading now from like Dr. Joe Dispenza that is talking about epigenetic levels and how we are actually designing our DNA structure and how our cells are mass duplicating under that is it's either mass duplicating under a cell that's under stress and under that pattern, because when we put that in there, either it's bad nutrition or bad thought or bad everything, because they've seen it at an atomic level inside the nucleus is just energy. And so if we are putting all of this negative into it, when the cell needs to reproduce, it's taking that blueprint and it's reproducing that negative cell again and again and again. And we're not supporting it with proper nutrition, which if you read Grain Brain by Dr. Perlmutter, they see the neurological effects of eating gluten that is heavily riddled with glyphosate and all these chemicals and genetic modification and everything that's with it. And they're seeing actually affect us neurologically in our mood and in our, way of being. And so now if we have that bad food, eating a lot of gluten, we get angry and upset and we live in a constant state of stress. How can that not affect us at a cellular level? Yeah,
it has to. And, it kind of goes back to, gosh, we could go on so many different tangents with this, but that, that's
why we do this show. And that's it's just another episode, Nikki, that we'll have.
But it's that gut-brain connection. What you eat affects your brain, what you think affects your gut. And then, of course, everything else is affected too. And one of the things that I learned when I was in school is if your gut's on fire, your brain's on fire. And it's true, leaky gut. And you don't have to have gut symptoms to have a leaky gut and have a gut on fire. This is just inflammation. And so it's connected. And it's all, if you feel physically bad, then you feel mentally and emotionally bad, and vice versa. And it's all about food and thought and exercise or movement, stress modification, too much, too little. A little bit of stress is healthy. I think a little bit of stress can be motivating, but too much chronic stress is detrimental, and it shrinks the brain.
It absolutely does. So I'm going to do a real world example of all this, and I'm going to get a little vulnerable with it. Is yesterday, okay, so when COVID-19 happened, I have 2 teenagers at home. Do you think I'm eating really well all the time? Hell no. Like, I mean, I just have, there's so much availability of like a cake my daughter made, and then all of like gummy bears, and we buy organic and all of whatever we want to say.
Organic gummy bears.
Yeah, organic gummy bears and all of this stuff. And so I have been eating that. And I've been not watching my diet as closely because of stress and the stress of COVID. I'm not too worried about it, but still it adds a level of stress. Being at home with the entire family, 2 teenagers in a small house that my wife and I are now working out of the same house together, it adds another level of stress. But I noticed that when I started to eat bad, my triggers of when I would get frustrated or angry or all that stuff that would happen happened faster. And I was not, my logical brain didn't come in and say, oh, take a deep breath and go for a walk. It's time to go suit up Leo and take him out. So it wasn't in those moments, and I went right to fight. I went right to anger. I went right to the point of I had to leave the house. And I'm actually staying at my family's house up here in the mountains because I needed to get away from it all and I needed to reset my pattern. But it was in that is I ate bad food, which led to stress, and that stress led to anger. And it just, like you said, cascaded down this path. And eventually I looked at it, and I'm lucky that I'm married to a very understanding woman that really kind of smacked me upside the head and said, get your shit together. And so then it allowed me to go and physically reset again. But it was really all due to the food that I was eating led to my bad thought process, led to stress, led to, and then you really follow that cascade. It all has this symbiotic relationship together. And then when I throw on that, if I've not been eating well, my omega-6s could have been higher than normal. And causing a pro-inflammatory response.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all connected. I mean, the food we eat absolutely dictates how we feel, how we react in a lot of ways. I think, and it's awesome, your awareness and her awareness, and you do what you need to do to deal. And then you reset and you go back. You're like, okay, no more organic gummy bears.
Wait a second. You shut your mouth for a minute. They're so freaking good. I will try to refrain. Maybe just 1 bag a day instead of 5. All right. So there's like some issue. Oh, let's not cross the gummy bear chasm. But
I never understood gummy bears. I really don't get them. Or gummy worms or Twizzlers or any of those. My husband loves Twizzlers. I'm like, oh.
I know. I had an unhealthy addiction until I realized what was in a Twizzler that I'm like, I'll give that one up. So, but just because it says organic doesn't mean that it's necessarily the best for me.
No.
So and with it is, everything that's going on in your life, I had to follow the thread back to the beginning to think that a specific situation. So for example, if I got angry over my kids leaving dishes everywhere all over the house, was that really the reason why I got angry? Or did it start 4 or 5 days before that with things that I was doing with bad habits and what I was eating that was then leading to a shortened temper, where before I never got upset over it, but now all the stresses of being in the house really just caused that to fire off.
Yeah.
And
I wanted, were you about to say something? Sorry.
No, I wasn't. None of it. Like, really, it's just absolute, just a thread that I didn't need to get up.
So I want to say something that, because I think that's huge. And I think it's huge for a lot of people. And I'm going to just be blunt with this and say, I think it's huge for a lot of men. Just because, just to hear that and understand that there's sometimes something more if there are anger issues, or, you can't understand why you can't control your, you fly off the handle. It happens, and it happens with women too. I'm not trying to, do this gender splitting thing, but I think that it's kind of what it is in a lot of cases. And a lot of, I think more women tend to pay attention to food, and men are like, whatever, just cook for me. And it's what I see in practice. And so I'm so grateful for you putting that out there, but I want to put a small little spin on that.
Okay.
Because with our dogs, if we're feeding them food that creates stress, and we don't understand why our dog is anxious, we don't understand why our dog maybe doesn't play like it used to, we don't understand maybe why our dog attacks or acts out, or all of these things that we don't understand that our dog is doing, whether they've always done them or they just started, either way, take it back to the food and consider that there's something going on there's an inflammatory process, the gut and the brain are connected. Is there something that we could be doing as far as food is concerned that can help these dogs be the dogs that we want them to be? And I'm sure that they want to be. I mean, dogs are such good creatures. I don't feel like that they always are out there just to attack unless they have bad humans, right? So I think that's I think it's just an important thing to think about.
And I think you hit it right on the head is, you know, if we're feeding our dog a very pro-inflammatory diet that's highly processed, and, you know, your dog is showing, you know, aggression issues or you know, being lethargic or something else is happening that is kind of unexplained, you have to follow back to what you did about what we entered. I mean, I have these things. I have opposable thumbs, so I get to make the choice on what my dog eats every day.
Right.
And so following back to that thread of it all is what can I do to actually promote good brain health, good gut health, good health overall. So then my dog is able to learn what a good dog it is to be. So I love how you put out bad dogs are due to bad humans, and our ability to either train them to be aggressive because they will follow what we have because they want to please us. And so at some point, we are either training the bad, or I think what we're talking about is that we're basically putting something in their diet or their lifestyle that is promoting aggression or promoting that, you know, that feeling of flying off the handle maybe a little bit faster than.
Yeah, it could also be lack of movement.
So they feel almost like they're sedentary.
If they don't get to, you know, dogs for the most part, I think most dogs are workers. They want to see and do an experience and move and get out. They're not meant to sit in the house all day. And I know that some do, but I think that most of, you know, things we've bred into these dogs, you know, sort of blows my mind a little bit. But yeah, their intent, they need to move and to experience, you know, smell the grass, you know, when we do take them for a walk, if they are pulling to go to the grass, it's because they want to smell the grass. They're dogs. It's what they do. They smell stuff.
No, it's a trainer told me is give smell walks, go explore, allow them. For you, it's like, oh my God, you're wasting my time. Through this, but really like allowing more of an extended leash for them instead of doing the, you know, what I would say is the heel perfectly kind of way.
Right.
Really, like with my Catahoula, if we don't walk him at least 30 minutes a day minimum, he's going to jump the fence.
Yeah.
He has the ability to do it, and he'll just go self-walk himself. He's like, I want to smell what's over there.
Guys.
I'm out of here. Screw you.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you. Like today's show, that is awesome. I hope everybody got something from it. Watch your omega-3s. Make sure you're getting enough of them, and then watch how you're putting omega-6s into your body and where the sources of those omega-6s could come from.
Yeah. So something that I almost forgot to do was talk about our sponsor.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. And I forgot to interject in the middle of it. So go ahead.
Yeah. It's a habit that I have to, another habit to create. It's just part of it. But if you haven't heard me talk about it, it's a company called Rightful. It's a new company, new to the market, but the developers are not new to the arena. They've been around a long time. And well-versed in natural medicine. One's a naturopath, and I'm not sure about, I don't know how many there are. I just know of the one. Don't know her personally. I just know of her. And she's an amazing naturopath. And so they've created this product that was created initially to be for pain relief. And so it's a turmeric product. But it's got, I think, 8 plant-based herbs and nutrients in it, including a little bit of CBD. And some ashwagandha. So it works with the adrenal glands. It's calming. It helps you to focus. And one helps you sleep, and one's for the evening, and it's got poppy in it to help you sleep, and one's for the morning. And I have been taking it, and I love it. And the only thing that I have to say is I don't have a lot of pain, so that's not something that I can attest to at this point. But sleep, focus. Those are the things that I really was wanting to work on.
Yeah.
And has been really amazing for me. But I will tell you that there are lots of pain clinics, like allopathic pain clinics.
Mm-hmm.
I say that. That's my assumption. Most pain clinics are allopathic, but they could be functional medicine pain clinics. But they're picking up this product because it's working so well. It takes a little bit of time, but it's working really, really well for them and for everybody, for lots of reasons, not just pain. So because they're having such great results with it, they're doing more and more studies on it. So it's a great product. If you have any interest in it, it's really wonderful and it tastes good. It's a liquid, so it makes it easy. And you can go to rightful.com and put in the code TLN, as in Taste Life Nutrition, TLN20, and you can get a discount.
Awesome. That is incredible. No, and it's good products like that Nikki and I definitely want to promote, is because when you look at it, there's so much coming out there, is what's good, what's bad, what is really viable in some of these cases. Is we want to be those trusted sources that if you're looking at something like that, that's something that can help pain, and especially in today's day and age when so many individuals are riddled with pain today.
Yeah.
When you look at the opioid crisis and everything with it, sounds like an awesome alternative. Yeah.
That makes me think of one last point that I really want to put out there, talking about good products and bad products. And just so everybody's clear that this Rightful is a human product. It's not a dog product. But there are a lot of dog products out there that I'm not sure that I would give to my dogs. So there's a lot of salmon oil, huh?
There are too many products that I'm amazed.
Yeah. So, these fish oils and these salmon oils that are pumps and, there's made specifically for dogs. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to point any fingers because I just don't look at a lot of dog products, because I give my dogs, when it comes to things like that, I give them human products. I give them fish oil that I give to my clients and to my family.
Same thing.
But you got to be really careful, because those can be rancid. And if you're giving a rancid product to a dog or to a human, like if you go to the big box stores and you're buying fish oil, I just wouldn't do it. Because it is actually, we talked about the rancidity a little while ago. It's creating a carcinogen. So you're doing something to try to be helpful for your dog or for your family. And it's actually damaging and detrimental. So you got to be so careful and so aware of these supplements. I've seen, probiotics for dogs, that I look at the ingredients. I'm like, there is no way in the world I would give that to my dog. Yeah. I wouldn't give it to anything. I would throw it away. But we just have to be so careful.
Yeah, they have artificial flavorings and colorings in them. So definitely read the ingredients. Yeah. I mean, it's something that is the similar ingredient that you would find in a highly processed product. That it's not going to work if you're taking a probiotic and then all of a sudden you have an inflammation that comes in a highly processed product. How can that be beneficial for you?
Yeah, it can. And when they add fish oil to kibble, so heat damages oils in most cases. Yep. Heat's going to damage it, and they're creating kibble. And what's the temperature, like 700 plus degrees? Is that what it is?
Yeah, no, that's for when they make the corn byproduct off of ethanol.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Another terrible thing.
Awful. Yeah.
But either way, the processing is exceptionally high heat. And so it damages whatever is the kibble's made of. But if you're adding fish oil, you're heating the fish oil and you're damaging the product, and you're creating, again, another carcinogen. And then the probiotics don't live in heat. So just don't let the marketing and the ingredients and the junk in the food, whether it's human or animal, don't let it fool you, because they'll tell you all day long that it's good and healthy. It's not if you want to keep yourself and your animal around for any period of time. We got to be so careful. Mom, time to eat.
You're like, all right, Mom, get off the show. We want dinner. So thank you, Nikki, so much for the great show today and the laughs. I hope everybody took something from it. And so definitely follow Nikki Burnett at Taste Life Nutrition and follow her Instagram page. What is your Instagram handle?
Taste Life Nut.
Taste Life Nut. Done. And your Facebook is Taste Life Nutrition?
Taste Life Nutrition. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
And then you can always follow us at ParsleyPet.
Yep.
You can follow us on Instagram at ParsleyPet Wellness, or our Facebook page, which is ParsleyPet. And thank you for being with us. And we will be back next Thursday at 4 p.m. Mountain Time.
4 o'clock. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Matt.